holy smokes, this is working. Let's go buy this thing and let's have the full solution, right?
One, two, three.
This week, we're talking to Kyle McMahon, the founder and CEO of TractorZoom, all about building and scaling an ag tech startup. The Modern Acre is the podcast for builders in agriculture that think differently. If you'd like to dig deeper with the Modern Acre, check out our membership community, the Modern Acre Co-op.
The Modern Acre is presented by Corteva Agriscience. Corteva Agriscience combines industry-leading innovations, high-touch customer engagement, and operational execution to profitably deliver solutions for the world's most pressing agricultural needs. Corteva generates advantage market preference through its unique distribution strategy, together with its balanced and globally diverse mix of seed, crop protection, and digital products and services. With some of the most recognized brands in agriculture and a technology pipeline well-positioned to drive growth, the company is committed to maximizing productivity for farmers while working with stakeholders throughout the food system as it fulfills its promise to enrich the lives of those who produce and those who consume, ensuring progress for generations to come.
Tim, how you doing over there? I think you have an announcement to make.
Ty, if I look a little bit sleepy, it's because I am. Just had our second daughter last week on October 9th. So super pumped about that. We was keeping it kind of close to the vest, but new baby is here. Hunter Jane Nuss has arrived. And so super excited, but being a new dad going through the infant stage all over again, I have not got a lot of sleep, Ty. So lots of cold brew.
Seriously, I'm impressed that you're even recording this intro outro. So you guys, major props to Tim for, being in the game, being in dad mode, being in farmer mode. He's in all the modes right now, but we are so excited to welcome a new little girl to the family, Hunter. It's like, which granddaughter is going to take over the farm? It's I feel like this could be a reality TV show coming to HBO soon.
I know, yeah, 4 granddaughters so far. I think Mason might be the leader in the clubhouse. She always seems to have dirt on her, so that's a good sign.
Totally. I think Mason could be the leader in the clubhouse. Well, guys, we're excited to jump into this conversation with Kyle. You're going to love it. We had Kyle on years ago talking about TractorZoom, and we talked with him this week about what's going on lately. They did an acquisition earlier this year, and they're really innovating around being a solution in the tractor equipment space across the value chain. So excited to dig into this conversation. You guys are going to love how they're thinking about growing and scaling the business. Let's jump in.
Top of mind is corn and soybean prices. Soybean prices are up 25 cents, so I sold a little bit more. We're in the middle of harvest, but commodity prices are the backbone of my own farm, as well as what we do inside of TractorZoom and what our customers are going through. It's really just understanding where that's going to go, because I think net farm income is a hot topic for us.
Yeah, it's kind of across the board, no matter where you're farming. Like, every farmer is hitting pain points in California. It's wine, grapes, and almonds. Everything is just kind of depressed right now. So it's an interesting time to be farming, and curious to kind of get your thoughts on how TractorZoom fits into all of that. Before we jump into kind of the latest with TractorZoom, maybe fill our listeners in with your background and what led you to TractorZoom.
Yeah. So I didn't grow up on a farm. I'm in Des Moines, Iowa. Didn't grow up on a farm. Grew up in agriculture. Rural Iowa is where I grew up. But right out of school, I worked for a farmland private equity business. Did a bunch of deals for them. Really got immersed and engulfed in agriculture. Just loved it. And I wanted to start a side hustle, which was farming. And in 2017, it was, kind of farming for fun and break even. But it was a great time to get into it. And I had no idea what to pay for equipment. I was coming from private equity. Great data makes great investment decisions. I didn't have any data buying some farm equipment. And so kind of the mindset was, hey, we need Kelley Blue Book for farm equipment. And launched TractorZoom in 2017, really to become the market leader in equipment valuations. And we started selling the data to banks and equipment dealerships. And then we realized, okay, data is way more powerful inside sales workflow. And we ended up acquiring a business in December 23 that is really sales technology for equipment dealerships. And so our business has really evolved over the last several years into sales efficiency of heavy machinery dealerships. So we're taking the best of both worlds. We're taking our $60 billion of comparable sales data, injecting it in the sales cycle. So dealerships make better decisions when they're buying and selling and trading, right? They're the ones that are willing to pay for information and pay for good technology. Selling to farmers is an uphill battle. They and I put myself in the bucket. No problem spending a lot of money on machinery you can touch and feel, but subscriptions are just, it's challenging, right? So we sat back and said, okay, farmers are actually the end experience that we need to support, and that's going to come through their most trusted advisors. Equipment dealership's one of them, right? Equipment continues to become a integral part of the balance sheet. So land is number one, then equipment's number two, and then inventory and crop in the ground is number three. So, that's really where we are, and we're looking to become the market leader in sales technology and ag equipment dealerships. We work with about 1,400 ag equipment locations right now.
Appreciate the update. So much has changed.
Yeah, so much.
I just really respect the resilience and the adaptability. Like you have to be that if you're doing a startup in regardless of what industry. And so it's admirable and it's exciting, I think. Lots to jump into. One quick thought is like starting a farm as a side hustle. Love that. I love that for you. It's become like Tim and I have this joke of like, the people that get into farming for fun are like the people that are the super rich. They're like, I'm gonna just have my hobby farm and just do the break even. And then if you're a true farmer trying to make money from it, it's not a great way to make money, right? It's a huge challenge. So love that. And then I love the farm equipment space. It's really, really fascinating. And we grew up in a context where my dad was always talking about equipment. He was always looking at equipment auctions, tractor auctions, and looking at the prices and always wanting to get something used and get a good deal. And like Tim and I grew up with this being such a focus. So I love the space. I'm so fascinated by it. Kyle, I want to jump into let's break it down a little bit more of like this. I don't know if you call it a pivot or what your thoughts are. Like, can you walk us through like the initial business, the initial product, and kind of like the process you went to recognize, hey, we need to kind of add some things, we need to change some things, like dig into that, because that's not an easy decision. Well,
again, I didn't grow up on a farm, so everything's been a learning curve, and it's always been, how do you do it differently? If you're going to farm like everybody else, or you're going to shop for equipment like everybody else, everything in our industry it's so commoditized. Like, how do you set yourself apart? How do you get the leading edge? How do you be on the bleeding edge of whatever it is you're doing, right? And so it's always come down to me, it's just plain curiosity and always asking questions. I'm not a farmer. I'm not an equipment dealership. I've bought and sold a bunch of different things, figuring out how do you generate the biggest returns wherever you're going. Thus why I actually don't own equipment, because it's really expensive and it's better to buy farms and custom farm them and not be withholden of geography and be forced to buy really expensive ground. So that's like kind of my little niche is like custom farm. I have everything custom farm now, and I can buy ground wherever I need to generate better returns and capitalize on the real estate side. But as it relates to TractorZoom, it's always been listen to the customer. So the initial pain points we started to solve, started to generate revenue, started to build a business. And then we just kept asking questions, kept doing customer discovery, and realized, okay, this is just one part of it. Valuing machinery and having transparency into current market conditions was just one part. In order for us to drive even more value for our customers and partners and dealers and banks, was get that data in their workflow. They don't need to go to another solution. They already trust our data. And like literally, we bought this business called Anvil AppWorks. It was not for sale. I spent all of 2023 trying to buy this thing. We almost had it done once. It blew up. Like, you just keep going. And 4 months later, like, the opportunity came back up. The reason we bought that business is because a dealer came to us. They're a great customer of ours. And they said, huge John Deere store, or they have like 30 stores. And they said, TractorZoom, I love your data, but I want it inside this CRM thing. I'm like, never heard of it. It was still a bootstrap company. really hadn't heard of it, but they were gaining a lot of momentum. And then we did that integration for 7 more John Deere and Case IH stores. And we're like, holy smokes, this is working. Let's go buy this thing and let's have the full solution, right? And so as we continue building, what we're doing is a true platform. So as a platform business, we're getting to more business opportunities than we thought in a different order than we expected, right? We've not always planned to just be in equipment valuations and data supply. We've always dreamt we can take this to a lot of different areas, but we sat back and looked at market conditions, listened to customers, and allowed them to kind of steer us in the right direction where the momentum was going.
No, super cool. Would love to kind of dig into this acquisition. Like, you have dealers saying, like, this is really awesome data. It'd be cool if you could integrate with this partner. Like, how do you approach a company that's not for sale and like get that conversation started? That seems like it would be tricky.
I've never been shy. Like, I don't know, as a startup, you kind of have to do unorthodox things. I doubt people listening to this would be the people I've called on, but like, I've called on businesses a heck of a lot bigger than ours and just asked to talk to the CEO or owner and asked if they'd ever sell, right? And they kind of laugh and they're like, shouldn't it be the opposite? Just don't be shy. But this was a smaller business and we already had a working relationship with them, right? So it's, I don't know, just be transparent. What do you want to do with your business, right? And as soon as you say that, it just starts the conversation, and it's either going to go well or they're going to shut you down, right? And you just have to continue asking the right questions. And in the end, you have to be incentive aligned. Why would either one of us want to do this? Like, we're both growing really quickly. Why do either one of us want to stop what we're doing in order to go execute this acquisition? And so it was on both sides, but it was really apparent right off the gate of conversations, like, it's going to be hard to do the acquisition. It's going to be expensive, but it just makes sense. If you look at the automotive industry, the real estate industry, they've all brought these cohesive platforms together, and it's been done before in other industries. And we sat back and said, okay, we're the market leaders on each of these segments. Let's come together and go kick some ass.
I love that. Like you said, not being shy. Like, sometimes you just have to go out there, be aggressive, have these conversations. Obviously, not aggressive, be respectful, right? But like, be aggressive in communicating and talking and networking and understanding what's going on in the space.
But like, if you're in college and you're dating, you can't just walk up to a girl and say, like, you want to be my girlfriend? Yes. Like, you can't be quite that forward. It just takes a lot of time. It takes relationship building. I think that goes with anything. It's just like a sale. It's just you're always selling, whether it was buying a business or you're trying to sell your product. Like, you can't just show up to a sales call and say, like, hey, I got this cool widget, want to buy it? It costs this much. Like, where's the value? It always comes down to value.
Totally. So one more thing I want to dig in on, and it kind of relates to the whole investment climate we're in right now of raising capital. I always wonder about this. You know, when you're a startup and you acquire a business, what does the financing look like this? Is this like in conjunction with another round? Walk us through that a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different ways you can acquire a business. You can go all stock. You don't have to raise any money. You can go all cash and you have to raise money or use it off your balance sheet. And so there's a variety of ways that you can take to go get things done. We saw a lot of upside potential, and it was a mostly cash deal, right? And so we did raise money in order to do this. Historically, it's been a challenging capital raising environment, or 2023 was, right? But the thing that I really learned in that process, we've raised capital a couple of different times, and the whole mantra of it takes 6 months is like real. Every time we've gone to market to raise venture capital, it's taken between 3 and 6 months, just depending on conditions and our growth rate, et cetera. On this deal, I'm fairly confident we would have been rather unsuccessful raising capital if we just went to the market and said, hey, we want more money to go build our business, versus we have an opportunity to buy somebody that's highly strategic, that can transform the outcome of our company, and we can gain market share. We can do all these strategic things. Like, that was really exciting. I probably took 40 VC calls in 2 weeks and had 2 term sheets. So like, start to finish on the deal, raising money, closing the deal, closing the financing, like all closing 3 deals in one, it took us like 50 days. And so it was really fast and fiery. Like it was super exciting and it got us to value, and we're just like able to keep building. But what I found was there were so many VCs at this stage that were really excited about what we had the opportunity to do, but their fund mandates like would not allow for them to invest in a company for their first check to do an acquisition. Like that's very much more so private equity growth stage. We're frankly not there yet. So it's like so many people were excited about the opportunity, but a lot of the VC funds, I was actually shocked, were unwilling to invest in a company where the proceeds were going to go to buying a business. Private equity, totally different story, but they move slower than molasses, and so we didn't go down that path.
Totally. Yeah. They probably have certain theses, and the buy box is very small and narrow, and they can't deviate outside that if it's not the tried and true venture model. Kyle, I want to dig into a buzzword that's going around this year is AI. You were posting some stuff recently about how you're thinking about AI for the business. Maybe talk to us a little bit about building that into your product and using it internally.
So we're a data company at heart. Everything we do is providing actionable insights to our customers. And so we have a data science team, really a rockstar team that delivers not only the data transparency to our customers, but we leverage AI in a variety of ways in our business. And every time we use AI or large language model to deliver value to our customers, it is a very prescriptive way of using it. For example, we have an application where equipment salespeople are in the field and they collect information around equipment for a trade-in evaluation, an appraisal, think of. And the serial number on a piece of iron that's been drugged through a field forever and slapped around and hit rocks, and your kid runs it through the building or whatever the thing, like those serial number plates can be really damaged. We have AI that recognizes it 99% of the time, so you can capitalize on that. You don't have to read the 13-digit piece out in the middle of the field. We have offline capability, so you can do it inside a machine shed. So like that's one use case. The other one is we used to value machinery based on about 10 to 13 attributes per machine. So make, model, hours, horsepower, things like that. And now with AI, the descriptions of equipment are really unstructured and very dirty data. We can now increase that to over 230 attributes just by leveraging AI. So our valuations have gotten better and the output to our customers is better, right? So we always think about AI that way. And we have some other really cool initiatives that will leverage AI that maybe I can discuss next year. But the other thing is we use AI internally to operate our business. One of the cool tools we've used, and I'm not paid to say this by any means, but Gong AI records all of our meetings. Like, man, if we don't have to log notes after a sales call and it does it for you and integrates to Salesforce, man, that saves us so much time and we actually get it done and our CRM gets used more. So that's a really cool tool that we've been able to use just internally efficiently.
I love that. I mean, I think it's great to hear from an actual CEO in the seat of how you're thinking about it, both on your product, making that better. I think, Tim, weren't you just telling me recently about Dad like sifting through a manual?
Yeah, we have like all of our tractors are 30, 40 years old. And there was one of the John Deere tractors that he like could not find the manual. And so we ordered one on eBay. It was like $500. Like this huge stack comes in the mail. So he's has that out in the shop working on the tractor. But yeah, it seems like such an easy use case of like, why isn't this not like easier accessed for farmers where he's like literally ordering stuff off FedEx or off eBay?
Yeah, for sure. There's going to be a ton of opportunity to help be more prescriptive and give time back to people in the industry.
On the engineering development side, Kyle, are you thinking about how are you thinking about AI like to help with engineering resources? Is that something where the engineers, data scientists on your team are kind of supercharged by some of these tools? Is that how you're thinking about it in that capacity?
Yeah. We use GitHub's Copilot. That really helps us continue to build faster. And then inside of our data science team, we use a variety of products. be honest, I'm not super familiar with every tool that they use. They're a hell of a lot smarter than me. Our lead data scientists used to do machine learning for the Air Force on F-22 and 35 fighter jets. So like I kind of just give him the bandwidth because he's a lot smarter than me. But yeah, we use AI in the process of creating our own development.
Yeah, makes sense.
We also do a lot of image recognition things. We use a partner to help us label a lot of data that helps us start to narrow in. We can start to tell through imagery if a tractor has a loader on it, has a deck on it. And so by us being able to label a lot of that information, we can start to speed up the process of pulling in the right data that's used by our end customer, the dealer and bank primarily.
Kyle, you mentioned a couple projects are still under wraps for some announcements next year, but kind of where are you headed over the next year or so? What are some big milestones that you're working towards?
Yeah, this year has been all about integrating the sales efficiency business, sales enablement business at Anvil into TractorZoom and getting all of our products to create one solution. And now it's honestly all about taking that to market. We have some super exciting partnerships that we've announced. We just announced our integration with Kubota's IKQ. Probably doesn't mean anything to anybody here, but now we can seamlessly connect to John Deere's quoting tool, Case IH's, and now Kubota's. And what that does, it allows our customers, our dealers, to be able to integrate with the manufacturer, pulling in the programs and incentives. So call it when an auto dealer says 0% financing or $5,000 off a Chevy Silverado. That stuff gets updated all the time. Being able to integrate and have those really strong relationships with the OEMs is really critical to bring more efficiency to our dealers. And so scaling within that, and then we're starting to look at we just entered Canada, so we're starting to sell into Canada and bring our products up there. Naturally, the next big opportunity is how we look at and approach the construction market.
Love it. One other topic I want to dig in on as looking over your website. You guys have seemed to invested quite a bit in doing blog posts. Talk to us a little bit about is that driving significant business from SEO? I could imagine a lot of these blog posts are, farmers are searching, the Don Holtz JD 4840, right? Like some of these niche tractors and comparisons and stuff. Talk to us a little bit about that strategy.
That tractor just sold yesterday for gobs of money, by the way. So
no way.
That's one cool thing. We actually wrote that blog post in particular for one of our auctioneers, and I think he set a record. We sent 15,000 people over to his bidding site from that blog post. So it's all about traction. And so the kind of the I guess you call it the mousetrap that we built was, instead of charging advertising dollars for people to advertise your equipment on TractorZoom, we said, hey, you can spend your money elsewhere. We want to return data and value. So that's kind of our value exchange on TractorZoom and how we've scaled to so many equipment listings. We'll advertise about 65% of all agriculture equipment listings in the United States on TractorZoom this year. And so we naturally have to use those blog posts to continue driving SEO because as we build the supply, we obviously want farmers to come look at the equipment. We're still the largest search engine for farm machinery at auction. So we advertise 85% of all farm equipment that sells at auction through TractorZoom. And farmers can get alerts through that where they can type in, hey, I'm looking for an S790 combine between this many hours. And it will send you an alert, hey, this dealer just got an inventory, or hey, Matt Maring auction is selling up in Minnesota next week. Make sure you pay attention. Because that's one thing that always frustrated me in the auction industry is you don't always know about them, and it's really hard to search sale flyers and where is the inventory, when's it coming online, because auctioneers can tend to post their inventory 4 days before. You're like, oh shit, I didn't know they were selling $10 million of equipment. We want to bring that transparency to the market through TractorZoom. So naturally we do a lot of SEO and blog posts to continue driving that organic traffic versus paid traffic.
Super cool. Kyle, a question we ask all of our guests. You've been at this for a while. What's your ag hot take?
Ag is really frustrating right now. I really think everybody is sitting on their hands. When you sit back and look at my hot take is it's not as bad as everybody thinks it is right now. Corn and soybean farming is really what I'm talking about, because on the go forward, we'll all have to manage our business appropriately, but it really seems like it was a big market reaction where everybody is sitting on their hands right now until they dip in the crop. So we had 450 corn going into May, June, and all of a sudden it dropped off a cliff and everybody's been sitting on their hands. OEM's been laying people off. It is a market correction. We have to take that for what it is. But if you sit back and look at producers made, call it $1,200 an acre over the last 3 years, balance sheets are still super healthy. They may be losing $100 to $200 an acre this year, but they're still positive over the last few years. As interest rates come down next year, I really do think it will start to become more exciting. We really need to get into the crop. It's going to be a big one. And I don't know how you guys feel about this, but I think the one thing that gets any farmer really excited is a big crop. Even though you're kind of selling for pennies on a dollar right now, like being able to raise a big yield is really cool, really neat. But I really think that we'll start to see a lot of changes over the winter going into next year to really bring this market back where it needs to be. And the drought in Brazil right now is starting to help us get there from a market pricing standpoint. Because last thing we want to see in our industry is really low net farm income. It really stresses the dealers. It really stresses the entire supply chain. And we need to continue finding more demand for our commodities.
Kyle, last question before we end up wrap things up here. I'm curious, who are you looking to maybe in the ag industry or just business in general that's kind of inspiring to you? Are there any other companies that you're kind of taking notes from, or any books you're reading that you're kind of finding you're really passionate about right now? Anything come to mind?
One that I just read last week, I got fired up about it. It's 5 Dysfunctions of a Team. Highly recommend it. Super short read, like 3 hours on Audible. That one got me fired up, and I'm a big believer in what got you here won't get you there. As you continue to scale, you have to change. People have to adjust and adapt. That was a really good read here recently of mine. And as I look at other industries, a lot of the things that we're doing aren't revolutionizing just agriculture. They've been done in other industries. Automotive, Cox Automotive has vertically integrated the automotive space. They're doing something like 8 or 9 billion in revenue and have 40,000 employees. And your entire user or the buyer experience and journey of car shopping is on a Cox Auto product, right? So I sit back and say, how can we become Cox Auto of heavy machinery? And that's really the driving force of where we're going. The challenge with that is that means a lot of different things. So you have to stay focused on one thing before you move to the next.
That's awesome. Well, Kyle, it's been awesome having you back on the podcast. As we wrap up, how can listeners get in touch and connect with you and TractorZoom?
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me back on. Good to reconnect, guys. I'm pretty active on LinkedIn. Shoot me a LinkedIn message. I read everything that comes through. That's usually the best way. And if you're in the market to buy some machinery, make sure you go to TractorZoom.com. Take a look at the 20 or 30,000 listings that are on there right now. And if you're a dealer or a bank, go to TractorZoomPro.com and you'll see all of our B2B products and technology and data products there.
So, Ty, what do you think?
Love catching up with Kyle. I think my big takeaway was just this acquisition. I think it was such an interesting part of the story of late, and how you just kind of stick around the hoop, right? You got to talk to people about businesses, and all businesses are hard. And I think there's always partnership opportunities. And so just, being diligent, working on a deal. It took almost a year, he said, and getting this acquisition to really expand and have a 1 + 1 = 3 situation for the business, especially in this time of the market right now, I think was super savvy, and excited to see what they build out with it.
Hope you guys enjoyed this week's conversation. We'll be back next week with another new episode.
Now get back to sleep, Tim.